Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to win faceoffs in NHL 21. This was one of my more popular videos in NHL 20, so I figured I'd remake this guide for the new game. This time I'm going to add a few more tips as well as include some of the new logic changes. I'm going to go over how to do the basics, so if you already know how to perform all the faceoffs, you can skip to the timestamp I've put on screen. Anyways, let's get right into it. So first things first, we want to learn how to perform each of the faceoffs. To get ready for a faceoff, hold your right stick to either your forehand or backhand while in the faceoff dot. Both the forehand and backhand faceoffs have the same set of moves you can perform, so for now just focus on learning one side and the other will come naturally. To perform a basic backhand/forehand win, you move the left stick down to the 6 o'clock position when the ref's hand moves. This will again make you do just a basic faceoff win. Instead of going down with the left stick, if you go up to the 12 o'clock position, your player will perform a tie-up. A tie-up is where you will leave the puck behind and push the opposing center away from the face-off dot for one of your teammates to come pick it up. It's also best you communicate this with your team before you do it, as giving it away to the other team can cause trouble. If you move the right stick upwards to the 12 o'clock position, your player will perform a stick lift. What this is a move where you first stick lift the opposing center and then win it backwards. This is the most underrated move in the game by far, and most people won't see it coming. Now, moving on to the two weirder face-off moves, these ones aren't necessarily good options, however can be used in certain situations. The first one is the deke face-off, where your player will push the puck through the opponent's legs and grab possession himself. You can perform this by holding L1 on PlayStation or LB on Xbox and flicking up on the right stick when the ref drops the puck. I can't recommend this because it hardly ever works, but it's a good move if your opponent isn't taking the face-off. It's also worth pointing out that this has a slightly easier chance against someone doing a tie-up, but nothing significant. Lastly, we have the shot face-off. You perform this by not touching the left stick and flicking up on the right stick when the ref drops the puck. This will make your player shoot it directly from the face-off. This almost never works, however, and people just never try it. It's worth mentioning with the basic win and stick lift win, you can actually aim where you want to win the puck to. Just aim your left stick where you want the puck to go, and if you win it, it'll go there. A move I like to do is winning it to yourself off the boards or even to a winger to throw the other team off guard. So now that we've gone over the face-off basics, I want to talk about counters. Face-offs are really just a big game of rock, paper, scissors, always trying to find the specific move that will beat your opponent. Instead of just listing them off, I made these cool little graphics to go over every face-off and its counters. After I list all the counters, I'm going to give you some tips and different ways to actually put these graphics to use. First up, we have the basic backhand, which is the most default face-off in the game. It beats both stick lifts cleanly, as well as draws with both basic face-offs, making it a great move to use in all situations. However, it loses to the tie-up, so it's very easy to lose if you use it too often. Next up is the basic forehand, which is probably the worst face-off in the game. It's the inverse of the backhand because you beat the tie-up, however you lose to both stick lifts. With the forehand only winning against a tie-up, it's very risky to use in any situation. I rarely ever use the basic forehand because of its ineffectiveness against any real face-off strategy, so I don't recommend making this your most used move. Next, we have the backhand stick lift, which is a very underrated move. It beats the tie-up as well as the basic forehand, which basically makes it a better version of the basic forehand. Not many people use this move, however it is extremely effective against people who like to tie up a lot. It loses to the basic backhand, which is a huge downside because again, a lot of people like the backhand. Let's move on to the forehand stick lift, which is another face-off that you rarely ever see, but it's so overpowered. It beats the backhand stick lift as well as a basic forehand, and only loses to a basic backhand. The forehand stick lift is by far the most overpowered move because of one little trick. If your opponent lines up for a forehand face-off, always do a forehand stick lift. You should do this because since it beats or draws with every forehand move, there's about an 80% chance that you'll win the face-off. And if you don't, then it will result in a tie-up. Lastly, we have the tie-up, which is a very effective move to use on people who don't really know what they're doing. It really only safely beats a backhand, but it's still a good move because of how widespread the backhand is. I don't recommend overusing the tie-up unless it's working because it's very easy to counter. Before I get into some game tips and strategies, I want to talk about when to use certain face-offs. In the offensive zone, I find the basic backhand to be the most useful. Most people expect you to tie up, so they'll likely go for a stick lift. Doing a basic backhander means you have a high chance of winning the draw, even if they do the same move as you. In the neutral zone, I recommend doing a tie-up as it's a good face-off to default on when you aren't sure what they're going to do. A lot of people will do a basic backhander because they don't know any better, which means you'll likely win a lot of face-offs. In your defensive zone, you should try and rely on stick lifts. A lot of people like to tie up for their wingers to come get it, so if you can consistently shut them down on defense, you're looking very good. Now, let's move on to some face-off strategies and tips on how you can use these counters and actually start winning more face-offs. My first tip is that when you don't have any knowledge on someone's face-off habits early in the game, always use the tie-up. Most players will do a basic backhand in the early game just because it's easiest. My next tip is always keep doing a face-off until it doesn't work. The easiest way to start losing face-offs is getting in your own head and doing too much. If a certain move is killing someone and they can't adapt, then don't change it up. It's that simple. Next tip is you should try to play more defensively. Rather than being aggressive, react to what move you think your opponent will pull. If they keep tying up in the offensive zone, then learn their habit and look to counter their move next time. Always think one step ahead and put yourself in the mind of your opponent. I already mentioned this next tip, but it's just too overpowered, and that's to always do a forehand stick lift when your opponent lines up on their forehand. Most people do a basic forehand in this situation, so you have a good chance of winning the face-off cleanly. But it's impossible to counter you when you do this, so the chances of you losing the face-off are very slim. This next tip is to win the face-off to your wingers or yourself more often. I really like winning the puck to my wingers on a power play especially, because it gains you possession easier while also being closer to the net. All you have to do is aim your left stick at the winger you're going to win it to. It's that easy. Winning it to the boards and threes is also a good move because you can pick it up yourself and make a play. Lastly, call out your face-offs if you're talking to your teammates. Even if it's as simple as a win straight back, communicate with your team so they can anticipate what's about to happen. That about wraps up my guide on face-offs for NHL 21. Let me know down in the comments if I missed anything or if you have any other tips. I'd love to see them. Anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed or found this helpful, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.